Hello, my name is Sorkhpour. Welcome to the Roadmap Show. Today we have an interview with one of the best of my masters. He is a very famous person in the world in part of the energy healing, meditation, type of the meditation, Sechim, Sekhim, and All-Love. I know this man about 12 or 13 years, and he made many changes in my life. Hi. His name is Patrick Zeigler. Now I inviting the Patrick Zeigler. I'm so surprised that after 13 years I can meet the Patrick again live, because we have many experiences together in the Malaysia, in the Turkey.
Hello.
Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Oh, doing great.
Yeah, well, after 12 years, we can meet again.
Yes.
How goes life? Where are you now? What are you doing? Who are you?
Right now, I'm in Brazil. I'm doing a tour in Brazil. And in a few weeks, then we're going to be going to Peru to do a tour in Peru.
Machu Picchu. Oh my God.
Yes. So we get all over the world, and then we head to Colombia and then to Australia.
Yeah, there. Oh, they're good. It's in German. It's sometimes confused with
We'll be back in kind of Europe next spring.
Yeah, good.
So,
and what's your plan for Europe?
Well, we usually come to Spain. We'll have a retreat in Spain this year. It'll be the first retreat we have in Europe. And we usually have classes in Spain. We'll be in Turkey, Romania, United Kingdom, and Holland. So those are the places we usually come to. So we have a very, very full schedule. We'll be there. And I forgot to mention, we will be in January, we're starting to do 40-day retreats. So it's a very strict meditation, 21 hours a day meditation, no food for 40 days.
Oh, yeah. That's great. I hope that in the next trip in the Europe, I will be in the Europe and I can attend to you. And Patrick, who are you?
Me?
Yeah. because the people maybe don't know who is a Patrick Zeigler. Patrick Zeigler is the earthquake.
No, I'm still trying to figure that one out. It's a good question.
Yeah.
No,
Please let us know.
Yeah, I'm a good friend. We've been good friends. We met many years ago. We kept in touch, and I'm so glad that you're doing well in Germany. I know you've had an amazing journey, and so our paths are kind of crossing again here.
Yeah.
Like I said, things that I've done in my life. I introduced the Sekhim energy. It'll be 40 years ago. I mean, that's what probably I'm most well known for. So 40 years ago, and then we're going to have in Egypt next November, we're going to have the 40-year Sechim reunion in Egypt. So it'll be very appropriate.
Yeah, that's good. And Patrick, I know that you were engineer too. Architecture, I think so.
Architecture, yeah. No, yeah. I studied architecture, and I was doing the architecture work for many years, and that kind of was one of the things that led me to do the pyramid. To go to the pyramids, go to Egypt. I've always been strongly connected to that. And then when the economy started going down, I started having more free time to teach and do more things, and then I just started doing all the energy work full time since then.
Yeah.
So It's been very interesting life. So, you know,
magical life with many changes, many go up, many go down.
Yeah, no, really, life's been life, and you know, I'm currently married to a Brazilian woman, and she's just been amazing. She's been helping me a lot. We have a new baby. Well, he's not doing anymore. He's 2 years old, but he's been traveling full time with us. So that's been quite an experience as well.
Yeah, that's good. Patrick, please tell us, what is the love?
What is love? Well, you know, there's different aspects of love, and yeah, I talk about this a little bit in the class. Now, I know that you have you come from Iran and you speak Farsi, and you probably have many words for love. In English, it's very limited, actually. You know, you can say, I love hot dogs, or I love pizza, I love just go swimming, I love my wife, I love my children. And we use the same word for this over and over again, because we don't have the vocabulary in the English language, or we probably do, but nobody uses it, to really distinguish. But, you know, like I know that in the Hindu language, the Sanskrit, when you go back into that, they have a different word for almost every type of love, going from love of the family to love of a friend to love of things on spiritual realm. There's a different word for every thing that we would normally just say love. Now, I think in Farsi, you also have many words for love. So, yeah, because the ancient languages, the really ancient languages have this more flavorful and expressive way. And so, you know, love is, I think, really getting to the point where you're embracing, you know, you're opening your heart and receiving, as well as giving. It's kind of a giving and receiving. And this is what we would probably term unconditional love. And that's giving and receiving without any sort of barriers that we might put against ourselves. So sometimes we turn that off. We say, no, we don't want that in our life. And that would not fall into that category of unconditional love then. So it is kind of in some ways, just the language is things that you can't describe. And I think then when you get into some of the energetic and spiritual dimensions of love, it starts to go beyond even what we're consciously able to perceive as love. So it's not something that you can just say, well, it's something you can't really put into words because we don't have words to describe it.
Yeah,
but generally, you know, when you feel love, you know, your heart starts to expand. You feel this amazing energy, especially in your heart center. That's what we normally refer to love as. And that comes from a variety of different things, you know, being grateful, you know, you start to feel grateful for people in your life. That's again, it's a form of the love, and that helps your heart open up even more. Forgiveness has a lot to do with when you finally decide to love someone more unconditionally. Because a lot of the times we might have a problem with somebody, and then at some point we say, "Oh, okay, I forgive you for what you've done," and that's kind of interesting, because what's happening is that it's about you, and you know, you're the one that's blocking the relationship, and then you say, "Okay, I forgive you now." So it's like, now I'm not going to block the relationship anymore. And that can be on a friend level, it can be on a romantic level, it can be on any kind of level. But people really misunderstand the word forgiveness. They think it has something to do with the other person that's involved, but they don't have to do anything. It's all up to you. You know, basically, in a lot of the times, it's like, okay, I'm not going to be angry with you anymore, so therefore I forgive you. So you're letting go of your anger when it comes to forgiveness. And then that takes you a step closer to the unconditional love.
Yeah. And the question is that many of the women say that, okay, we had love and now we have not love. Or many men that can say that, okay, I see this woman. Oh, hello.
So this is love here.
Yeah.
This is love.
Hi.
She is the mother of the new generation of the Love Zeigler. Yeah. Yeah. So much love. I know that when she came in your life, many things starting to change, but it's privacy. I don't. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, really, it's like you learn from every single relationship you've had. Your greatest teachers are the people that you are in a relationship with, whether you like it or not. And probably the ones that push your buttons the most, the ones that you probably have the most, you might say, resistance to sometimes, they're the ones that are teaching you the most.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, back to my question. Most of the time we say that the love means the relation between the father and kids, or men and women.
Yeah.
And or love means I love the God, I love the Jesus, I love the Muhammad. Or what's the real love? You explain about the unconditional love, but how we can have an unconditional love? How it happened? When I judge, when I have ownership, when I have many things of them, how is the process that achieved to the unconditional love?
Well, look at it like this. Most everything you mentioned before, you've got some sort of what you might consider an external source. So, okay, I love my mother, I love my father, I love my child. Those are all external sources. Now, also, when you get into the spiritual realms, what we tend to do then is we tend to also think of that as being external. So it's like, oh, the Jesus external. I love Jesus, or I love Muhammad. You know, these were external people. Okay. So now what happens though, then there's a bridge, because now let's just say somebody has died and you love them. Well, are you loving the body that is in the ground, or the body that was burnt, or the, the corpse? Are you loving the corpse, or are you loving the energy that that person was or is? Now, that's what happens is you take a step. So now it's like, it's almost like a form. And what would that, like for instance, what would the form take? You know, for instance, if it's Muhammad, you know, do you still imagine, you know, Muhammad being in a human body, or do you imagine the spiritual form of Muhammad? You know? Now, the same thing goes with God. And I think one of the things that I do like very much about Islam is that, well, Islam, also Judaism in particular, they didn't want to put any form to God. Say, okay, it's a formless God. And that makes it hard for people, because people always want to give God a form. Also, is God separate from you? Is God something that's not part of you? And so really, to get to love something that has no form, that, you know, that isn't always outside yourself, this is a kind of it's a new concept for people to understand. But in the end, when you really get to the deep levels of unconditional love, that's what's happening is that you're just being in a state of love, not having any type of external source that you're loving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. And now I back to the one important questions that the reporter and the police asked me in the jail when I were under this with so much pressure. They told me the meditation masters, especially this American guy, Patrick Zeigler, they are going to make a change in the religion of the people and make a change in the behavior and the beliefs of the people regarding to their religion. We are Muslim and like that. And they are a spy. They came to our country. They talking and make a connection with the people from our country to make a change in our religion. But I know that something about you that you can say something in Arabic.
I know that you went through a big time with that. You were arrested. They beat you. I know that they because of maybe because of me. I don't know, but it was like this belief system. And actually, what I teach is I teach a class called All-Love. And that word, All-Love, was a mantra that a Muslim Sufi teacher gave to me, But he didn't give me All-Love, he gave me the mantra Allah. And as I repeated Allah, Allah as the mantra, it became All-Love. And again, you see, this. You ask, what is love? Well, this is what love is it is connecting to this source that permeates the universe. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it all love, you can call it God, you can call it Shiva, everybody wants to give a name to it. And then as soon as you put a name on it, then it creates separation. So, it's like, hey, if you just say it's love, then you're going to be at least not as, causing the controversial, because, everybody can connect to what love is. All the different forms, whatever form they want to express. Okay, it's just love. Don't try to make it any more complicated. Don't try to label it. Don't try to make it exclusive to one particular group of people. Everybody on the planet, if you say love, they can connect to that. You understand? They're not going to say, oh, no, I don't believe in love.
But it's complicated.
You might say somebody, do you believe in God? And they may say, no, I don't believe in God. But if you say, do you believe in love? Most people will say, yes, I believe in love, unless they've really had their heart broken so many times, they'll say, no, I don't want any love. But they're not being honest. Everybody wants love.
But sometimes it make a mistake, because when I opened my office in the Malaysia and you came to the Malaysia, we create a flyer and we wrote that, do you need love? And when I gave this flyer to everybody in there, they think that I have a prostitute, the office, or this is related to the sex. The most people think that the love means sex and sex means love, or they are together and it's one concept. And
the thing is, you say you love your children and it doesn't have that connection. It's just that people, they get so preoccupied, especially, with the sexual stuff. And you can have sex without love. In fact, that's where the problem starts. That, when if you have love and you really, really love somebody so deeply and then you have sex with them, it's a completely different experience. And everybody knows that. But to kind of get back to, what you just mentioned, here you were, you're arrested, they're talking about me and everything. And really, what I'm teaching, I feel, is so closely related to the really roots of is Islam, because what you're doing is you're talking about a formless God that's a part of the universe. And everybody, you know, a lot of the other religions and everything, they all want to give some kind of form to this formless consciousness that goes through everything. So really, you know, that's the core of Islam. You know,
then you are not going to make a change in the religion of the people. Are you going to make a change?
No, it's already there. It's already there. Unless, well, I mean, you do have people that practice certain religions, which will take it and kind of twist it around. But really, at the core of almost every religion is to love. You know, love, like, you know, I know in Christianity, they talk about love your neighbor, you know, open your heart, be generous. And this is one of the things that I found about Muslim people is that you know, you could travel in a Muslim country and people would open your doors, come invite me in, give me dinner. You never hardly get this in a lot of other countries, you know. However, then you do have one part that has become very militant, you know, and this is the case for every single religion that's ever existed. There's always been different branches, different ways that people express that religion. And of course, even right today, you know, if you're talking about Islam, you have the Shiites and the Sunnis, and my goodness, you can't get any closer than that. But what happens is they want to fight.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
you know, it's like, you know, come on, you know, and in Christianity it was the same way. You know, we had the Protestants and the Catholics, and even up to this generation, they were fighting in Ireland with each other. You know, if you can imagine that, a wonderful European country and nice and peace, and yet they're having a religious war. It's crazy. You know?
About the Christians. About the Christians, when I talking with some German guy in here and talking about the meditation. No. It's a Satanist. We are not going to connect to the Satanist. It's a Satan, love and meditation. And I know that it's happened for you when the first draft of your manual of the All-Love published by your students, and you gave to the father of your ex-wife. And would you like a bit explain? Because the people think that, okay, the Christians is different than Islam. And
no, you know, it's like every single religion has this. I mean, you know, you think about it, you know, even when I went to Egypt, all of the noses were broken off of these statues. And I was always under the belief that this was done by the you know, the Arab, the Muslim people. But in talking to, you know, the scholars that were talking about it, they said, no, this all happened. This was all done by the Christians. And yes, there was a time, you know, the Library of Alexandria, which housed everything, that was burned by the Christians, you know, and people don't really realize this. And, you know, I travel all over the world, and, you know, we're going to Peru. And what they did is they had beautiful, beautiful temples in Peru. And of course the Christian, you know, I can't really say they're Christian. They're the European, you know, the Europeans came in and basically they wanted gold. So they weren't really, you can't really say that they were Christians, but they had the Christian base from where they were coming from, but they weren't acting out in a Christian way. But they went in, they destroyed so much of the culture in South America, trying to promote, you know, their culture, saying, oh, we're a better culture. If you look at even the United States, you know, with the Native Americans, they're practically extinct in you know, in the United States. You know, they're just on little tiny reservations out west, and people did this a lot of the times because they felt, oh, we have the better true religion. And of course, now you're seeing it in the Amazon too. You have these indigenous tribes, and they're really, it's so wonderful that we have these untouched tribes on the planet. And we need to do whatever we can to protect them so that this lifestyle they have is not disturbed. I mean, just from a scientific point of view, you know, it doesn't have to be any kind of religious thing, but just to let them live the way that they've lived for thousands and thousands of years. Because if we go in and we decide, okay, we want to go get the gold that's in the Amazon, and we bring that our culture into those areas, it's going to disturb them. And we'll lose that forever. We'll never have any what we call true indigenous people left on the planet, which is really amazing that humans can live this way and be happy. And they're probably happier than we are, you know, and here we are judging them, you know, saying, oh no, look how they live. They hardly wear any clothes. They run around and do this and that. But they're, you know, most of the time when I travel around and I meet, you know, some indigenous people or people that are more, you know, connected to the earth, they're much, much happier people. And it doesn't matter which religion that they have, as long as they live a nice, simple, pure, clean life.
Patrick, what's the energy healing? Many of the people say that, okay, with our hand we can, or we could heal the people. Many of the scientists say, no, it's impossible. Doctor says it's impossible. But some of them say it's maybe possible because it's connected to the psychology things. And when you're thinking positive, then your disease go away and you will be healed. And it's not related to the energy. I know that you are a teacher. I'm a specialist in the computer. What's the energy healing? Is it right? Or many of the people make many money with these things and say wrong things to the people. And I saw in my country, and one of the reasons that I arrested for 40 days in the single room, and after it destroyed my life for 3 years without money, without anything, was that the people doing wrong. What's wrong? What's right? What's the energy healing? What do you believe?
Well, you know, everybody kind of has their own experience with it. And it is a shame that science has not caught up yet. There are some doctors that are exploring this, everything from the Reiki to different other hypnosis to acupuncture and that sort of thing. And eventually, you know, science will say, yes, there's something to this. But people really need to put a little bit more of an effort. You know, nobody has a huge grant where they're putting a lot of money into proving that this is true. But, I mean, really, if you look at what's going on and say it's amazing what you're seeing now with the marijuana legislation now. In the United States was like persecuting people all over the world, you know, different countries, if marijuana was not legalized now. And so, you know, if you got caught, you know, smoking marijuana, you could go to jail. If you got, you know, you were being persecuted. And I'm just using this as an example. I'm not promoting it in any way. I'm just using it as an example. But it was considered to be like this evil thing. And now look what's happening. They're finding that the marijuana is curing cancer. Science is doing that. The drug companies now are getting patents on the marijuana so that they can make the money off of it. You know, they're making, you know, they're synthesizing it. They're doing all kinds of things with it. And the people who were voting it to be illegal now are now voting it to be legal, and they have their own investment in the company, so they're going to make millions of dollars off of it. So there's a combination of things. Yes, they're making a lot of money off of it, but it's also good. It's actually doing a lot of healing work. The energy work is the same way. You know, like the doctors don't want to, you know, medicine doesn't really want to admit it at this point. But I would say in a few years, and probably 10, 20 years for sure, they're going to have all kinds of scientific things and come out and say, yes, there's a lot more to it. I work every weekend in classes, and I see the results every weekend. Now, you see, it's even illegal for me to say that energy healing can do any kind of healing at all. So I have to actually say we're just doing spiritual healing, you know. And then if any kind of healing happens as a result of that, fine. But I can't ever say that. I mean, you know, look at the way the laws are in the U.S. I mean, I think the people that make walnuts, sell walnuts, they put on one of their packages, the walnuts will help heart disease one time. And the FDA told them, no, you can't do that. You can't say that eating walnuts will help your heart. You know, if you do that, then you have to apply to make the walnuts a medicine. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like they want to have the control over it. But we all know now that, yes, diet and the things you eat can have an effect on your health. But the doctors for years didn't want to even admit that, you know, and even for a while they wouldn't even say that smoking can cause cancer. And that went on for many, many years. There was absolutely nobody wanted to do a scientific study on that. And now that people are dying of cancer, and that whole generation of smokers is old now, they're all getting cancer, saying, oh, yeah, you know, it causes cancer, and now they're paying out millions of dollars for people. But it's just that science is slowly catching up. Like if I went to the doctor and I said, oh, I'm having a little issue with my kundalini, what can you do? Well, they're going to give you some very powerful medicines and probably put you in a straitjacket and put you in a padded room. You know, because they don't know what kundalini is. You know, there's like all these misconceptions, you know. I even just saw today, I was just reading, somebody was talking about Reiki, and they said, oh yeah, Reiki is something from disincarnate souls and spirits and things like that. They've got all these ideas, you know, what different forms of Reiki and Qigong and all this are, and there's still a lot of judgments around it. But really, I've seen how effective it is. It's amazing what can happen. Now, you might not see the effects as quickly, but on emotional levels, on mental levels and stuff like that, it's absolutely amazing what I see happen on a you know, daily basis. And, you know, we do know that even with the placebo effect, the placebo effect can happen 50% of the time. Well, what's happening with that? You're the one that's 50% of the time healing yourself. You know, when they have a drug, it has to go through certain tests. So they use a placebo effect, and they found that people would actually get healed from the disease by taking the placebo. Well, what's doing the healing? It's your energy that's doing the healing. So it's your beliefs. It's you're the one that's doing the healing. And so rather than saying, let's explore that idea, let's science, let's really explore the idea of why the placebo is working so much and really develop, you know, a whole system of healing around that. They say, oh no, that's placebo, and we don't want to, you know, and then they focus on the other side of we want the medicine because the placebo doesn't cost anything. You know, yes, there's a lot of money involved in it. But really, what is the placebo? The placebo is working with your belief system. It's working with all different kinds of things, which can be included in a certain meditation that you do. So if you just imagine every day, okay, I'm taking my placebo. I'm going to be happy now. I'm going to have more money. I'm going to be healthy, you know, and just imagine you're just taking this thing. Your life will change just through your own belief system.
The first thing that, if you remember, we had one student in Malaysia, the name was Sarah.
And
and you know, she sent me a message that say hello to the Patrick.
Yes, I actually just a couple of weeks ago, she sent me a message. I believe that was her. And so it was great to connect with her. Hi, Sarah.
And the second thing is that, because I work for my PhD in the research centers, and I know that the most of the research the base of the research are ordered from some proposals, some requirements. It means that the most of the research are not free research. It means that if I say that I'm going to find out about the main idea of the energy healing in the universities, nobody fund me. Nobody pay for my research because it's not the priority is not high. No, the priority is artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, industrial 4, and like that. And this is one of the most problem in the research side, because I see that in the research you can change the parameters from 1 to 0, and then the results will be changed. And many of the papers that are published in the many huge conferences, they are no really connected to the requirements that we need. It's only, we could say, the art for art, science for science. Mm-hmm. Now the people sometimes I say that, okay, God, I'm a doctor of the computer, and I hope that one time I can destroy the computer, mobile phone, and everything. And where can I go without any satellite, ray, microwave, radio? We cannot find this. We destroyed the earth. But now I am going to ask one important another question. The question is that, okay, you talking about the placebo. I do it with meditation or with the tablet or like that. Everything is related to what my mind doing. Mm-hmm. Then the question is that it means that the energy healing, spiritual healing, spiritual things are completely related to the mind. They are not connected to the soil or to the spiritual things. Spiritual is only a name, and it's a business for a healing or meditation masters, and it's not real.
Well, see, we've had so many experiences. For instance, I'll give you an example. Again, I'm saying a lot has to do with the mind, but there is a portion of it that it doesn't matter what's going on in the mind, it still works. So a couple good examples. We are doing a class, and all of a sudden somebody not in the class knocks on the door. And they starting to go through an energetic process. And basically, the guy was just a gardener out in the yard, and he started to go into this energy healing experience without even being in the class. So it's like, okay, how does that happen? He wasn't brainwashed or convinced in any way. Also, we have pets. People will go home, they'll hold their pet, and the pet will actually start going through the issues. Going through spontaneous healings of sorts. So pets aren't, in a way, they're not, thinking about stuff the same way that humans are. So those are two examples. Another one is that sometimes people will do some processes where we're dealing with relationships, and maybe like a mother hasn't spoken to her daughter in like 8 or 9 years. She does a particular process we do in class, and then right after the class, she gets a phone call from her daughter. This has happened so many times, and sometimes even during the class, they'll get the call. So they're completely separate. They haven't spoken to each other for years, and then all of a sudden, once we start working with that person in the class, the contact is made again. What's going on?
How we can measure the energy, this thing?
Well, this is
I think from the scientific side and from the mind side, because when we live in mind, we need to see everything and we can touch it. And in the scientific things, we say that when you cannot measure it, it means that it's not real.
Yeah, well, you see, this is one of the big issues. I mean, there's a guy, they call him the Amazing Randy, and he's willing to give $1 million to anybody that can prove anything on a psychic level. So if you can read, if you can see auras, if you can work with energy in a way that's 100% of the time, he'll give you $1 million to prove it. And nobody's been able to claim $1 million. I would like to do something with him sometime. But I know from the work that I do, it's never 100% because he's expecting 100% results. So, but if he had a team that came into our class and was watching, and maybe they do have some sort of instrument that can measure this stuff, but right now science, I don't think, has the measurements. They are working on certain things, like I know a guy that he says that this machine can read the aura. But, you know, most of the aura stuff that we have, it's all fake. You know, it's just computer-generated images superimposed. And so we really do need to get to the point where science can measure the energy field just like it could measure an electromagnetic field and stuff like that, or if it can see past the infrared energy or past the ultraviolet energy. You know, we need to be able to expand our stuff. But right now, the problem is a lot of the stuff is that people are using devices that really don't measure this sort of energy. It can't detect this sort of energy because it's beyond our five senses. And eventually it's going to happen, you know, but we're just not at that point yet.
Yeah, but it means that we have to find the new sensors with new frequency. Maybe we don't know what's this frequency in which level, then we cannot.
Yeah, it's really all just frequencies, and it's a matter of developing the science to measure this stuff. Now, a lot of the astrophysical stuff, you know, that they're developing, they're able to start seeing things beyond our senses and that sort of thing. But it's still just at a very infant stage right now. But for science to say, okay, science doesn't even recognize the soul energy, you know. So, like for instance, if you had a device that could read the energy and have it monitoring somebody at the time of their death, you know, what would it show? What could it maybe show? That the soul leaves the body or something like that. These are some things, but I think right now the problem is it's beyond our senses. So our senses really, this is how we observe and how we see our world, create our world through these five senses. But most of the spiritual stuff is all beyond that. For instance, like everybody dreams. Everybody has a dream, all right? So I had a nice dream last night. Now, was that real? Was that part of my imagination? You know, what was happening there? But while I was in the dream, it felt exactly like it was real. And so it was so real to, you know, everything. You go in your dream, you see stuff. Now, why are you dreaming these things like that? It's because it's like a mirror of this world. Your mind's recreating stuff that you can, for you to understand. But there's a point where you can go beyond that. And this is one of the things that happened for me in the 40 days is that you realize, okay, you know, I'm really not this body. I'm not really these thoughts. And you can then move beyond the senses and start to have amazing awakenings, amazing experiences. But like I said, science is not putting a lot of energy or money into this, but it's stuff that people have been doing for thousands and thousands of years, you know, especially over in India. But it isn't a focus for people because it's not a money-making venture.
Is it maybe the problem of the approach of the West science with the East science? Because in the East, the people and the science mostly goes to the emotional, spiritual things. And in the West, the science goes to find out what exactly is. When I see it's real, when I cannot measure it, it's not real. Maybe it's a different approach cause that we cannot or we are not interested to measure or develop the science about the spiritual things?
Well, I think it's growing. There's a lot of doctors and people now. It's getting to be popular. And if it's popular, there's money involved in it. And so then, like look at yoga. Every gym across the country has yoga classes. And if you have the yoga classes, you've got meditation. 20, 30 years ago, this didn't happen. Actually, I'm kind of aging myself now. It was actually 40 years ago it didn't happen. But it's like these things now are starting to become very popular and very open. So it's going to happen. It's like this generation, as they get older, this generation is going to want to know these answers. So it'll happen. It'll happen in the next 20 years.
Yeah. And I know that you have another appointment. We achieved it that time, or we have time?
Yeah. I probably need to get going here, but okay. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I just saw you online. You got this roadshow thing, and that's great. You're a very popular man now.
Thank you. I hope that we can see each other again and touch the hearts again. And yeah. I know, and really when I know you, my life completely destroyed.
Yeah. I know.
Earthquake of the Patrick Zeigler and Allah. But yes. I'm happy, and I hope that we can have another session with you, and you say more things to us about the energy, and maybe teach us something that's new. Yeah. Because I know that after 12.
Sometimes in order for things to change, it's got to be destroyed.
Yeah, but good destroy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Patrick Zeigler. I'm Patrick Sorkhpour from the Roadmap Show with Patrick Zeigler. See you for the next session. Bye.